Spider.
And good morning to you, fellow St. Lucians, here and abroad. I am totally excited, if you can't tell beneath that mask, smiling from ear to ear. And that time of year is here. All towards what I want to see from the beginning of the year in January, we began celebrating St. Lucia's excellence, celebrating the accomplishments of St. Lucians with a Nobel Laureate Festival, which started from January and it went into the early days of February. And February came in, and then we were preparing for our independence anniversary. It's the 43rd anniversary of our independence, and I totally love this time of year. As you could tell, decked out in colors. And certainly I know that St. Lucians, home and abroad, are excited to celebrate come Tuesday, 22nd February. Good morning once again to you. I am Mr. Joseph, alongside the beautiful Homa DeMark.
Morning,
Homa. I see we did the coordination thing.
We
did it, right?
We did it. You know, you wore the blue. I was so proud of you this morning because you know, you got it right. Not only did you wear, you know, you got decked out, but you wore the right colors.
Yes.
The ones that I was missing, you had it down.
For that in, don't worry.
Get it down.
I got you. But this morning I was also I know Friday was a Colors Day.
Yes.
National Colors Day. But also this morning, just on my way to work, I realized that so many people I passed, they are wearing their colors still. So that just brought absolute joy to my heart. It just means that we are really about St. Lucia. We are St. Lucia, and this is great. Fantastic.
Agree. I definitely agree with you, Lisa. And come tomorrow, we will see, of course, celebrations virtually. We do have a number of activities set for tomorrow, including the military display, which is always interesting on Independence Day. So, of course, we're going to remind you all the great things still to come on the Independence calendar as we progress this morning. As we do, as customary, we always keep you informed as to our COVID-19 situation in St. Lucia. And the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs yesterday confirmed a total of 11 new cases of COVID-19. These samples were processed on Saturday, the 19th of February, 2022, from a total of 278 samples, of which 183 samples were processed at Ezra Long Laboratory and 95 samples were processed at Laboratory Services and Consultations Limited. These samples were collected between the 17th and 19th of February 2022, and this number of positive cases makes 3.96% of all samples processed on that date, which is great news. We're seeing a definite decline in the number of positive cases that we've been experiencing over the past few weeks. Confirmation was also received of the recovery of 44 individuals diagnosed with COVID-19. This brings the number of active cases in country to 1,014. Currently, there are 24 positive cases of COVID-19 admitted at the respiratory hospital, and one of them is critically ill and one of them is severely ill. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs yesterday also reported one new COVID-19 death. To date, the total number of deaths in country is 268, and the total number of COVID-19 related deaths is 90. The Ministry of Health, by extension, the government of St. Lucia, sympathizes with the family and loved ones of this gentleman. Vaccination, of course, continues, and the Ministry of Health reminds you that vaccination is one way in which to protect yourself from severe illness complications from COVID-19. And so if you're looking to be vaccinated today, the VG Sports Complex is one place that you could visit, as well as the Soufriere Hospital between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Absolutely. Thank you, Huma, for that. And as always, as we say here, I always emphasize that always engage with a medical practitioner on your concerns about COVID-19 and vaccination in order for you to be able to make a determination. Come to that decision on your own, being well informed as to whether you should go have that vaccine or not. And it has been proven. We're in COVID-19 now for 2 years straight, and so all of the evidence shows that vaccination really does reduce the risk of hospitalization, severe illness, and death. So once again, just get yourself completely informed to make sure you get the credible information in order for you to make that determination.
That's right.
Now, so Huma, we are really on the independence fast track, if you will.
Yes, we are. Yes, we
the
are.
number of activities, I totally took in the praise and worship, the virtual presentation that was on Sunday. Very engaging, loved it, was able to, enjoyed seeing the diversity on our religious landscape. So this was very good. Seeing the talents, the dance, the sing, the songs, and so forth. So that was very, very engaging. We, in the lead up to independence, we also had a few activities, and one of that was the renaming of the Entrepreneur Human Resource Development Center. Give us some more on that.
Yes, that is right, Lisa. So the Entrepreneur Human Resource Development Center has been renamed the Romanus Lansico Human Resource Development Center, and this one was headed by Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Honorable Philip J. Pierre. He did mention how important it is to him that this was done given Romanus Lansico's contribution to Castries East as well as St. Lucia. We do have a report on that, so let's head over to the report to provide you with more further details.
The Entrepreneur Human Resource Development Center has been renamed the Romanus Lansico Human Resource Development Center. The undertaking forms part of activities for St. Lucia's 43rd anniversary of independence. The initiative, led by Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre, seeks to honor the legacy of the former government minister and a member of Parliament for Castries East. Despite being political opponents, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia spoke glowingly about the contribution of the late Romanus Lansico to the country and Castries East constituency. He highlighted that Mr. Lansico was a visionary who also never ignored the smaller initiatives, such as the construction of footpaths and access to basic amenities that impact the quality of life of St. Lucian citizens.
But what was striking is that I felt that I could have gone to Romanus or to Steve and said, listen to me, there is something I need, and they would do it. And that's the difference in the politics. I felt I could have gone as opposition, as strident in the opposition. I could have spoken to Romanus and said to him, listen to me, this must happen, and he would do it. Even though the same night, we'd have been at each other on the platform. But not personal. It was never personal. It was about people. It was about who had the better plan for the country and who thought they had the better plan for the country.
Prime Minister Pierre is optimistic that the renaming of the Human Resource Development Center will serve as a catalyst for unification of citizens despite their political affiliation.
So what we're doing today is to herald a new beginning in the politics of St. Lucia. The politics of victimization and the politics of vindictiveness, the politics of I will make you cry. We have to stop. We have to put a halt to that level and that degree of politics. And as Prime Minister of St. Lucia, I will not condone that type of politics. The remaining of this center is just a small step in the transformation of the politics of St. Lucia. I hope it transforms the politics of St. Lucia. And the very presence in the cabinet of Stephenson King and Richard Fredericks is also a signal to the change of the politics in St. Lucia, where people can come together in a cabinet for the benefit of the country and the benefit of the people of St. Lucia.
The late Romanus Lancico envisioned a development center for the Castries East constituency. The Human Resource Development Center was constructed in 2002 after Mr. Lancico had retired from elective politics. The Human Resource Development Center now serves as an avenue for development and socialization in the Castries East constituency. From the Government Information Service, Hilma Dimak reporting.
All right, and that was the report there from the renaming of the Entrepreneur Human Resource Development Center, and that was one of the activities, staple activities on our calendar of independence. Speaking of independence, one of the things that we could see is the closing off of the baton. They're in Castries constituency today, and we're going to see the end of the baton making its way around the island tomorrow. So that's one of the activities also on our calendar that we could look forward to.
All right, and stopping off in Castries Central.
Yes.
And I do believe that the Castries Constituency Council, the CCC, has planned a sort of end game celebration, if you will. And so we always should stay tuned for more on that. Now, Homer, you know, last week we were having the discussion about being independent and what does it really mean? Is it, you know, political independence and that sort of thing? So we had that whole discussion. But and I think in the end we all agreed that independence makes room for interdependence, because you really in today's world there's no such thing as being able to do it all alone. You can't go it alone, no matter what it is. Even as individuals and as adults, you can't go it alone. And so for us here in St. Lucia, we've been very, 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 very blessed to have had some wonderful allies along the way. And the European Union, that collection of European countries, been very good to St. Lucia. And one of the most prominent examples of that would be our Owen King EU Hospital. And we had a delegation from the European Union Commission on Ireland quite recently, last week, and that delegation had a tour of the OKEU, and they were very pleased as to what they were able to see and to get to see firsthand the contribution of the EU to the further development of St. Lucia. So let's go to that report. A high-level delegation from the European Union Commission ended an official visit to St. Lucia, satisfied with the strides being made at the Owen King EU Hospital. On Thursday, 17 February 2022, the EU ambassador to Barbados, the OECS CARIFORUM and CARICOM, along with two senior directors from the European Union Commission's headquarters in Brussels, were on Ireland for the customary international cooperation tour, during which the EU representatives visit facilities and assess programs and projects financed by the EU. Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Honorable Moses Jabatis, accompanied the EU delegation on a tour of the Owen King EU Hospital. The National Medical Facility is the single largest capital project undertaken by the EU in the English-speaking Caribbean. The European Union has provided more than 50 million euros in support of the health and wellness sector in St. Lucia, including 36 million euros towards the physical construction of the OKEU Hospital, 8 million euros for the provision of biomedical equipment and furniture, a further 6.85 million euros in support of activities for the acceleration of St. Lucia's health sector improvement plan. This included training of medical personnel and assistance with the updating of standards and protocols. The OKEU Hospital is now fully operational as the island's main health institution following the transition from the Victoria Hospital, March 27, 2020. The EU Ambassador, Her Excellency Malgorzata Waskilaska, witnessed for the first time the transformational impact the hospital has had on the local healthcare system.
A great example of assistance of the people of the European Union, 27 countries, to the people of St. Lucia. It's moving to see how wonderful the facilities are and what they offer to the people of this beautiful island.
The OKEU hospital has 2 floors spread across 4 wings and includes operating theaters, an intensive care unit, a morgue, laboratory, wards for inpatient treatment, an ambulance bay, and outpatient clinics. Physiotherapy services are also offered. There are 120 beds, and the ICU accommodates 6 beds with 2 additional isolation areas. The hospital also boasts state-of-the-art biomedical, radiology, and theater equipment, including an MRI scanner. Miriam Ferron is the Deputy Director General in the Office of Directorate General for International Partnerships at the EU Commission.
As a representative of the European Commission, I am extremely proud to have been able to visit this hospital today. I am impressed by the high level of technicity of the equipment we have been able to see, by the dedication of the staff, and by the way the hospital is managed. And it's a really great pleasure for us to visit this hospital in full operational capacity, able to accommodate a high number of patients, in particular just on those times of COVID. And we are extremely happy that the inauguration could take place in March 2020 in full capacity at the time where the most needs were felt by the population. I must say my expectations were high, but I think that what I am seeing makes them superseded by the reality.
Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Honorable Moses Shabatis, says government continues to build on the milestone the EU's contribution has made to the health sector.
It was a good day today for the taxpayers of Europe to see what we have done with the hospital so far. This project started many years ago, and we know there were challenges, but it is very clear that the staff and the management of the hospital have done a wonderful job in transitioning the hospital, and they continue to do well. Now that we are occupying the hospital, the buildings, we have to continue to work on the other aspects of ensuring to ensure that this hospital is operated at a standard which we can be proud of. So I'm very pleased, I'm very honored, and I'm humbled by the kind of responsibility that I have now as minister to ensure that we take this project to higher heights.
The EU delegation also held talks with Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre, External Affairs Minister Honorable Alva Baptiste, and Director General of the OECS, Didacus Jules. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reporting.
A comprehensive look there at the EU delegation. Coming in, it was just for one day, so they had a whole lot doing within that one day, Homer. And clearly, as we heard there from the EU representatives, they were absolutely pleased that St. Lucia, that we've been able to fully open the OKEU, as the minister indicated. There have been some challenges along the way, but certainly what we've been able to do with that facility, it only shows what we can do as a people when we certainly put our heads together.
That's true, Lisa, and it's good to see people who've contributed to the development of a sector, whether it's our health sector, with the contribution that they've made to the Owen King EU Hospital, that they're pleased with what we're doing with it. It augurs well for continued partnership, I should say. Just moving on and talking about progress and development, the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports recently launched the Crossroads program. That is a youth-hosted program. It's hosted by Jacques Wooding and Kurim Nelson, who are young media practitioners. And the program launched last week as a platform for young people to discuss issues affecting them in St. Lucia and plans for development as well. Their first guest was Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, and we do have details on that program.
Development and Sports launched its virtual youth development program, 758 Youth Connect, with the initial airing of Crossroads from the studios of the Government Information Service, GIS, Thursday night. Minister responsible for Youth Development and Sports, the Honorable Kenson Casimir, gave a brief welcome to viewers explaining the concept of the program.
The main objectives of 758 Youth Connect are to digitize training and development to increase youth capacity and improve the performance of youth and sports organizations via e-learning. It's also there to create access to virtual youth connections for greater opportunities to make a meaningful contribution to our society.
Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre, who has the youth economy as part of his portfolio, was the first guest on the program. He gave his government's perspective on the impact the youth economy can have on St. Lucian life, particularly that of its young people.
The youth economy is creating a special space in the economic system for young people. You have the tourism industry, you have the tourism ministry, you have the agriculture industry, you have the agriculture ministry. We're going to have the youth economy as part of the superstructure of the economy, a substructure in the superstructure, aimed at the youth only. So all matters that relate to youth economic development. Now, some people think that once you hear about youth, you must only speak about sports and culture, etc. That's important. But the youth economy is specifically economic ventures for young people. And the aim is that we can convert hobbies into entrepreneurship and skills into business. And who else can be more innovative than young people?
Youth and Sports Officer and Coordinator of the Virtual Youth Development Program, Nixon Barry, was elated having been able to launch the program with the initial airing of Crossroads.
We experienced the energetic launch of Crossroads, one component of the Virtual Youth Development Program, #758. Crossroads is the ideal program for youth advocacy, where we get young people to share their perspective on things, share their talents, and so forth. The launch was hailed a success, I must say. Last night we had the Honorable Prime Minister discussing the youth economy together with Mr. Wilson. I think the information that was delivered there was far-reaching.
Crossroads is also intended to record young people in their natural habitat and showcase their work and the impact they are making towards national development. From the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, I'm Ryan O'Brien.
And that's the launch of the program Crossroads by the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports. And hopefully we're going to see the continuation of that program and young people really using that platform as a form of self-expression and an opportunity to air their views on the issues taking place in St. Lucia.
Absolutely, Homer. And we're going to keep with the theme of young persons. And within the education sector, a lot has been happening regarding information technology communications, ICT, and a very key partner in all of that is the government and people of the Republic of China, Taiwan, and they have been so instrumental in helping us advance ICT in education. And there's a project that has been ongoing, and we've seen the rollout of the ITC in education project with another component. We turn to Chris Satney for details on that.
The principal and staff of the Grand Riviere Secondary School were excited to receive a 65-inch interactive educational screen from the Republic of China, Taiwan, as part of the ICT in Education Smart Classroom project. This handover signals the continued rollout of the ICT program, as 21 more schools are set to receive the interactive screens to complement learning and teaching island-wide. A total of 32 65-inch interactive educational screens will be handed over to 11 secondary schools and 10 primary schools, specifically for the Electronic Documentation and Preparation Management, EDPM, and computer labs. Minister for Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocational Training, Honorable Sean Edward, expressed his gratitude to the people and government of the Republic of China, Taiwan for their contribution not only to education, but St. Lucia's national development goals. This project, he says, highlights Taiwan's commitment to empowering students by enhancing their learning experiences to be better equipped as a global citizen.
ICT in education is a very important initiative for the Ministry of Education. Not only is it fashionable to incorporate technology in education these days, but it is also very necessary, and that is the direction in which the world is moving. COVID has made the situation even more glaring. And for countries in the world that were dragging their feet, so to speak, and were not moving with the impetus that was needed to incorporate technology in education delivery, have had no choice since the advent of COVID, but to move hastily to ensure that they create that platform for the incorporation of technology in the education system.
The objective of the Application of Information and Communication Technology for Educational Development project is to build smart classrooms, create capacity building courses for teachers, and customizing an online education system platform for schools, parents, students, and ministry staff. His Excellency Peter Shen, Ambassador of the Republic of China Taiwan, said that the pandemic has placed more focus on ICT and incited the expedition of the project, making moves to have more ICT inclusive classrooms to merge the teaching and learning gaps brought on by the pandemic. This, he says, will motivate and make students eager to learn.
One of the major achievements of the ICT in Education project is to set up 7 smart classrooms across St. Lucia. We equipped teachers with the latest ICT know-how so that they can enrich students' learning experience and their satisfaction by applying digital tools in their study to overcome the limit of time and space.
The ministry has been a collaborator on the project since 2019, and the project is set to conclude in November 2021. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocational Training, I am Daniel Dubois reporting.
And thank you so much, Daniel Dubois, for that. Homer, you know, sometimes when you say that someone is speaking your name, and sometimes you get that ringing in the air. What times do you speak that person's name as well? Yeah, so is that Chris Satney? Good morning to you, Chris Satney, who's the head of communications over at the Ministry of Education. But that was actually our very dear friend Daniel Dubois with that report. So, Homer, as we enter in our home stretch now, and independence, yes, tomorrow, Tuesday, 22nd February, independence for St. Lucia, 43 years going strong. And so, you know, recently we had, well, I know, of course, there's that debate about being independent, and it's really, you know, independence, I think, really brings to the mind, again, our ability for us to take care of ourselves and how it is that we can forge partnerships within the society and communities for us to be able to, you know, take care of ourselves, as being independent indicates. That's right. And there was no better demonstration of that, Herma, I believe, when with the launch of the Social Assistance Fund. And that happened on the 14th of February, and coincidentally, Valentine's Day, show love. And we saw the Ministry for Equity in the lead with that, because the fund is going to be placed within the Social Development Fund, which is, of course, a component of the Ministry for Equity. So we want to give you some more detail on the fund. You know, there's been some reporting on it, but we always like to be able to give you, you know, more in-depth look at what the issues are. And so we want to go to parts of the ceremony with the Permanent Secretary, Ms. Velda Joseph, sort of couching the whole background and the importance and relevance of the Social Assistance Fund to our society. And once again, we want to say kudos to Lucia for coming on board and injecting some $450,000 into that fund. So we go now to Permanent Secretary, Ms. Velda Joseph. Okay, we just have a slight issue there. We will rectify that and coming back in just a few seconds. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back.
We are working parents,
and we breastfed both babies exclusively.
Moi fais 6 chiches, moi ba yo tout tété ki yo tout ni bon sével.
Mother's breast milk is naturally the best milk for baby. Love yourself and love your baby.
We were breastfed and we are happy.
Breastfeeding saves me money and it's free.
Every moment I breastfeed strengthens the bond between me and my baby.
I breastfed twin boys and lost all my baby fats.
We were breastfed
and we have breast milk power.
I am Pastor Alvin and I support breastfeeding.
For more information, call the Nutrition Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness at 468-5359.
Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging around, no.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
And thank you so much for staying with us. We continue to just a little audio issues with the Ms. Velda Joseph's clip that we wanted to show you. But in the meantime, we will go through, these things happen, Homer, we're live. These things happen.
All the time.
So we'll go through, just to give you a reminder of the activities that coming up as we celebrate St. Lucia's independence. The Banana Festival is on, Homer, and that started on Sunday, 20th February. It's going to continue through to on Tuesday. That's happening at the Anglican School Annex. So go there and see what the Banana Festival is all about. Being able to, of course, you know, it's such a staple for us. The national dish is what, the green fig and saltfish. And see what else is there that you could talk about the bananas. I would imagine you want to perhaps look back at the history of bananas, the banana industry in St. Lucia, all that it has been able to contribute to the island economically, making sure that the standard of living for St. Lucians during the Green Gold era really elevated as a result of bananas. And of course, you know, there's very lots of nutritional value in the bananas. Did you have a banana today, young lady?
I want to say yes, just to not get in trouble with you.
You don't want to get into trouble with me, that's right. And so,
I'll say yes.
You say yes? Okay, but you know, somehow I think that St. Lucians have probably heeded the call of the Honorable Prime Minister and, you know, eating more of the bananas, because I can tell you, Omar, walking into the supermarket there on the weekend and trying to get bananas was like, well, where is it at? And you know that independence coming up, everybody wants to go and create those local dishes. And so I would imagine that people have really decided to buy out so that they can, you know, families are going to gather There are no big social gatherings, but families can gather up to 25 according to the protocols.
That's right.
So 25 or 35?
25, I believe.
Good. And so, you could have your little cookouts and that sort of thing. So I can imagine lots of green fig and saltfish in all its variations will be served then. All right, I'm getting a signal there from Roger that we are good to go. So we want to go back to that clip of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Equity there, Ms. Velda Joseph, couching for us the importance of the Social Assistance Fund, which was recently launched with a $450,000 donation from Lucia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Delay. Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development and Youth Economy. Honorable Stephenson King, Senior Minister and Minister for Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development and Urban Renewal. Honorable Joachim Henry, Minister for Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment. Other members of Cabinet, Mr. Ivor Daniel, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development and Urban Renewal, Mrs. Irene Gasper, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment, Mr. Trevor Luisi, Managing Director, St. Lucia Electricity Services Limited, Mr. Alison Mathrin, Executive Director of the St. Lucia Social Development Fund, the SSDF, Mr. Roger Joseph, Corporate Communications Manager at Lucile, other specially invited guests, staff of the Ministry of Equity, staff of Lucilec, staff of the SSDF, media personnel, a very pleasant good morning to all of you and happy Valentine's. I also have the distinct honor of warmly welcoming all of you to this special gathering occasioned by the formalization of a public-private partnership between the Government of St. Lucia and the St. Lucia Electricity Services Limited, Lucilec, an arrangement which is in the interest of vulnerable individuals and households and is in support of the Ministry's comprehensive agenda on social protection. I am particularly pleased to extend a special welcome to the Honorable Prime Minister and other members of Cabinet who have joined us here today. Thank you for being here despite your very busy schedules, which I am sure your portfolio commands. We do appreciate your presence. From the outset, let me indicate that the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment is extremely pleased with this initiative, the purpose of which aligns perfectly with the vision and mandate of the ministry and which supports our efforts at improving our social protection system to ensure adequate access, but also to ensure that we are providing assistance to those who need it most. And I'm sure you keep on hearing that a lot from the ministry. We are about providing assistance to those who need it most. We believe that the establishment of a social assistance fund capitalized with the assistance of the private sector, and of course in this case Lucilec, will allow for the extended reach of the ministry given the growing number of vulnerable households in dire need of assistance as a result of the prolonged impact of COVID-19. And at the ministry, we see it on a daily basis. The demands, the requests that keeps on increasing, and we can tell you, we live it firsthand, the increasing demand for assistance from the government of St. Lucia. We see this facility, that is the fund, as a mechanism for providing relief to persons when needed, for allowing persons to meet their most basic needs, and for extending a helping hand to families until they become steady enough to be able to steer their ship on their own. And this is extremely important to us at the ministry as the lead government institution with responsibility for matters relevant to social protection or social issues in general. Certainly, we do not want to leave anyone behind as we advance in our social development, and arrangements such as this one helps to promote and to facilitate inclusion. I will therefore take the opportunity now to express our thanks and appreciation to Lucia for journeying with us again and supporting the social sector. I am saying again because Lucia currently is sponsoring the Our Boys Matter program, which is a program that is being implemented through the SSDF. We look forward to your continued support, Mr. Louisi, as well as other partnerships in support of a sustainable social assistance fund, which will be administered by the SSDF to the benefit of our vulnerable brothers and sisters. We also anticipate greater synergistic relationships with other private sector entities as we develop and implement programs and projects towards improvement and advancement of our social protection system. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
And Ms. Velda Joseph there, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Equity. Just as I said, I'm going to give us a little, overview of the importance of the Social Assistance Fund that was recently launched with the contribution from Lucia, $450,000. And now we want to go to the sorts of individual who bore the brainchild of it all. Honorable Senior Minister, Honorable Stephenson King, Minister for Infrastructure, Ports, Transport. And so he really gives us the background into how the fund came into existence.
Chair, thank you very much for your introduction. And let me join the PS in wishing everyone a happy Valentine's Day. I hope you make the very best use of it. Mr. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, we are proud and happy to have you here with us today, having had reason to take a few days off to address the common enemy that we all are faced with on a day-to-day basis in our country. I want to recognize the Minister for Equity, Mr. Joachim Henry, Managing Director of LUSLEC, Mr. Trevor Louisi, and of course, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Equity, Mrs. Velda Octave Joseph, colleague ministers, other permanent secretaries, Director of the SSDF, members of the press. I want to thank you this morning, welcome you this morning rather, and to thank you for the opportunity which you've given me to be part of this ceremony. One may ask, what is the connection between LUSLEC, infrastructure, and equity and social development? And for me, I somewhat classify it as a kind of cross-fertilization of sectors. And that in itself, Madam Chair, will give you an idea as to how this whole idea was born. LUSLEC and the Ministry or Department of Infrastructure, under the energy rubric, which we are responsible for, have had an institutionalized arrangement of meeting regularly, most times on a quarterly basis, more or less to plan, plot, guide, and drive the energy sector in St. Lucia to see how best we can lower the rate of energy through sustainable means. And LUSLEC, while it is known to be the main and single most producer, generator, and distributor of electricity in this country, has been working with us in an endeavor to achieve some of the goals set out in our national energy transition strategy, which we have committed to. At one of our meetings, sometime I believe it was in October, I raised the idea of LUCELEC giving consideration to the lowering of electricity to particularly our vulnerable people, vulnerable households. And after much discussion on the matter, trying to find a strategy and to circumvent the potential conflict that this initiative may have with the regulators, it was felt that probably more details should be brought to bear on the initiative and that I should write LUCELEC and to convince them of the intention. LUCELEC later requested a meeting with the Prime Minister and ourselves to discuss, among other things, some of their own initiatives and the effort that they're putting towards renewable energy. It was at that meeting that the idea was further discussed and LUCELEC committed to giving it some thought and maybe redirecting the idea in a form that would allow the government, based on its own intention,
and that we were hearing that there from the Honorable Minister Stevenson King as HOMA, the Social Assistance Fund, being launched there. And as I said, it's a clear demonstration of our independence, being able to pool our resources to help ourselves. And so the LUCELEC coming forward with its contribution of $450,000 altogether. And of course, the corporate St. Lucia being encouraged to contribute to that fund as well. And I'm sure St. Lucians in the diaspora too would want to get involved and donate and so forth. So that for us here at age 43 is quite a big deal, being able to take care of those who are less able to do so, our most vulnerable in the society. So HOMA, we were going through the celebrations there. We do have the St. Lucia Showcase, my island home, and that's happening way yonder in Dubai.
That's right.
And that started on Sunday, the 20th, and it goes through to the 22nd, Independence Day. And there's the launch of the Prime Minister's pitch competition that's going to be happening. And we do have on the 23rd, the opening of the Interpretation Center at the Pigeon Island National Landmark.
That is right, Lisa. One of the things happening today is the final days Live Art Live Art at Constitution Park. So if you have not already, you can take a little bit of that in today. Also happening on the 23rd, like you mentioned, Lisa, the Independence Lecture. We should see that taking place as well. The launch of DigiGov, which I am excited about, given that so many government services would now be available online. You can now transact business or government services online with the launch of DigiGov. So we're going to see that on the 24th of February. I Am Lucian webinar series is set to take place as well. So that's one to look forward to. Nourishing Helen, which is a program by Helen's daughters. They're going to be using St. Lucian ingredients, local ingredients only, to create recipes that you're not quite used to. So that should be very interesting. And political participation of women in St. Lucia is going to be a virtual activity taking place. Well, that's going to be on the national television network, so that's one to look forward to as well. And our calendar progresses until the end of March. So when we return, post-Independence Day, we'll be sure to keep you informed of what else is on the calendar that you can take in as we continue to celebrate St. Lucia's 43rd anniversary of independence.
Absolutely, HOMA. And that will do it for us here this morning. We want to thank you so much for being with us. We were able to bring you some of those updates, and I do hope that some of the stories that you've seen has really invigorated you, given you that pride of being St. Lucian. Continue to fly that flag really high. Independence Day, enjoy that. Remember to observe all of the protocols that have been outlined. Remember, it is for the safety of you and me, the entire community, all of St. Lucia. And we will see you back here post-Independence Day, as Homer has said. I'm Lisa Joseph, alongside the beautiful Homer DeMarc. See you next time.